What's something other people find sexy that you just can't understand? Fake moaning. Certain or a lot of dirty talk. Lamau. A little I can handle but too much is cringy. Sex in a toilet, dumpster or whatever other disgusting filthy place. Interrupting while I'm asleep. Women that act stupid to be attractive for partners. Why would you love somebody who is dumb as frick on purpose? People doing fillers to make their cheekbones look more refined. It just looks like you got stung by a bee, making yourself look like a Kardashian. It's repulsive. Porn faces. Is there something wrong with looking like you might be having a good time? Lots of other aspects of porn, too, but that's the first one off the top of my head. Younger people of Reddit. What are you tired of hearing from older generations? Don't believe everything you see on the internet. My parents when I was a teenager in the late 90s. Now I have to tell my parents that, you kids in these damn phones. My parents are on their phones more than I am by a lot. I'm 64 and I'm really tired of listening to people my age whine about stuff that younger people do. It definitely was not better when we were kids. A phone isn't that effing hard to figure out. It's not that nobody talks anymore, it's just that nobody wants to talk to you. Stop eavesdropping. I'm not eavesdropping, you're just talking loud because you're deaf and I'm not. Gamers of Reddit, what video game didn't live up to the hype? My 2 cents is Anthem and the Avengers. Anthem. Initially I thought it would be Monster Hunter-like, but you were Iron Man. That would have been great. Halo Infinite. Great bones, zero meat. What a disappointment. Still no Forge, co-op, custom games browser or mission select replay nearly a year after launch, and they just announced the cancellation of split-screen co-op. Total disgrace on 343's part. For me it was Brink. Promised a lot and it partially delivered, but the player base just wasn't there and it didn't gain any momentum. Anyone still remember the hype around No Man's Sky, and how it blew up? Jump Force flopped so hard every single Sims 4 pack. Even the great ones can't compare to their ads. Who are the scariest types of people? In my experience, someone who calls you their best friend after just meeting them. Happened to me twice. They are usually manipulative and abusive. People who feel justified in using violence every time they get the least bit annoyed. The scariest kind of person would be someone who manipulates and lies like it were normal because they'll easily get you to do things and make you think it was your idea. Those obsessed with another person to an extreme point, be it a celebrity or an ordinary person, lie with straight face and have no empathy. Groups of teenagers. Living in Chicago, I've learned that scary guy on the train will likely leave you alone, but the group of 14-year-olds walking toward you on the sidewalk might jump and rob you. What is the worst thing about being fat? The fact that you put your whole life on hold, telling yourself that you will resume living when you lose the weight, then not being consistent with said weight loss journey and basically, never getting to truly live. Looking at your side profile in window reflections. My 7-year-old kid looking at his stomach in the mirror and saying that he doesn't want to be like daddy. I used to be fat. The one thing I don't miss is feeling self-conscious whenever I had a t-shirt on and doing the whole pull it away from your stomach thing. Knowing that almost everyone wishes you weren't. Every time I get a little pain in my chest I think fuck, this is it. If someone is dating you, you feel like it's either a prank or they lost a bet with their friends or something. What's a dark secret you want to get off of your chest? When I was 7 I was home alone. I called 911 due to a house fire that consumed half the house and they found me outside. My mother, who was at work, I was a latchkey kid, was told by the fire department that it was an electrical fire. In truth, I had a lighter and was fascinated by fire. I was burning the little tassels at the end of the blanket on my bed, putting them out before it caught the whole blanket on fire. Until I wasn't able to and the whole bed caught fire. An electrical outlet shorted out from the heat, which caused the firemen to think that was the cause. I'm 40 now. My mother still doesn't know the truth and I still remember it all vividly, complete with the heat on my face as I tried in vain to put out the bed. Today I fricked up by obliterating my wife's fish. Happened last night. Wife's 8-year-old very large goldfish was passing away, had dropsy, was suffering, and was on the verge of death. Wife and I looked into the symptoms and there was practically no hope of him making a recovery, so she asked me to euthanize him. Looking into methods, it seemed pretty agreed upon that the most effective and quick way to euthanize a fish was blunt force trauma. Now, when I was a kid my family were huge anglers, and I was designated as the fish killer when it was time to cook them. Back then, I was told to slam them on the ground as hard as I could. Well, my 8-year-old body wasn't strong enough to kill them instantaneously, so I had to do it multiple times. Honestly, it kind of fucked me up a little. Flash forward to last night. I didn't want that happening again and I wanted it to be painless. I asked my wife to leave the room because she was very upset and I chose to do the deed by putting the fish in a plastic grocery bag and slamming it on the counter as hard as I possibly could. The poor fish was absolutely obliterated. The force ripped open the bag and sprayed bits of what used to be a goldfish in every direction. Told my wife to stay upstairs and she started getting suspicious, so she comes down after 5 minutes and it's just everywhere still. On the counter, on the stove, on the fridge, on the freaking Christmas tree we still have up. I was still finding pieces of it this morning. Wife was aghast and traumatized. Cried until she went to bed. What food do you swear people only pretend to like? Fondant on like wedding cakes. Circus peanuts. There's no way people are actually out there enjoying those things, but enough people pretend to keep them in business. Stevia. There's absolutely no way someone enjoys that aftertaste. It's a weird cult that I'm not willing to join in, such a dominant flavor. Extremely hoppy IPAs. I enjoy bitterness in my beer, and I know there are some good IPAs out there, but it's gotten to the point that breweries seem to be competing with one another to see who can make the bitterest, most unappealing beers imaginable. They taste like earwax. What's the most horrific act committed by someone you know personally? When we were in school, this boy from our year was with his 2 older brothers and kidnapped a man. The man was dating their sister, and at that time, people were very protective if you dated someone's sister. They took him to a petrol station, and covered him in petrol. They then took him to a forest and burned him alive. All 3 brothers went to prison, but since they were minors I don't think they got that many years. When I was 21-22 I bump into the guy from my year in a takeaway, and he tells me he's working at the local supermarket. Few months later I end up working in that same supermarket, and he goes to me, anyone messes with you let me know. I'm thinking, nah, I don't want them dead in a forest. What's something Gen Z isn't ready to hear? You will be 30 before you know it, and Gen Alpha will laugh about things you think are cool. Edit. I am a millennial who doesn't know what is hip or cool anymore. They are the first generation to have internet since birth, and all of the cringe shit you did when you were 10 will live on the internet forever. At least millennials got a little head start to sort themselves out before the internet became mainstream. You're old. Gen Z is literally not ready to hear that yet. TikTok is a Chinese espionage tool. 99% of fitness influencers are on the juice. Who's an internet famous person that needs to go away? Andrew Tate, a really horrible piece of shit who is influencing young men and teenagers with his misogynistic caveman teachings. The whole 5 Minutes Crafts company for creating complete dangerous lies nonstop. Nick Avocado. Somebody get that poor man off the internet and into a therapist's office. Ace Family. Using kids for money is the worst shit any parents could have done. Every family blog channel trying to get views with shit like we called Chuck E. Cheese at 3 a.m. And Among Us in real life gone wrong? Damn, I'm old. Who are these people? Who's an internet famous person that needs to go away? Food Babe for promoting complete nonsense regarding food safety. She propagates the idea that an ingredient is unhealthy if you can't pronounce it, like an 8th grade science flunky who is getting even with a subject she never even tried to learn. Keemstar. Is Onision still a thing? If so, he needed to disappear about a decade ago. James Charles, Onision and Shane Dawson, Gabby Hanna, literally every family YouTube channel. What is something you will not tolerate during sex? Talking like Goofy and doing his laugh. If my wife ever said that to me, she'd 100% be getting a hot dog. Hyuk. Right before she was about to come the next time we had sex. Today I fricked up by almost dying via jerk-off. Well, technically it was yesterday. I spent all day smoking weed, like 4 grams or something in total. I am pretty new to smoking, so I think I may have overdone it in retrospect. Anyway, up until yesterday I had never had sex or masturbate while high. I am the kind of guy who likes to try everything once, so in order to end the day on a high, I decided to masturbate and then go to bed. So I started doing what you do, climbing the mountain, and just as I reached the summit, I passed out. Next thing I remember, I am lying on the floor, comb-covered stomach, Reddit open to our porn and my Fitbit telling me my heart rate was 201. This freaked out enough to sober me up for enough time to take a cold shower and eat 8 Activia Heart Healthy yogurts to try and make up to my heart for what it had just experienced. I managed to get my heart rate down enough either through the shower or the yogurts, I don't know which, and then went to bed. It's the next morning now and I am fine. I will probably try it again sometime, but maybe less high. What a weird and also quite sad near-death experience. What is cool in the eyes of most high schoolers but is actually cringe? Most high schoolers, being popular for the wrong reasons. As soon as you graduate that shit starts over. Better not to rely on being popular and prepare. Discussing sex loudly with the purpose of having random strangers hear it as if that somehow is a sign of maturity. Telling people how mature you are. Being dicks to the teacher who just tries to do his/her job. Being rude to teachers. Every person who I know who was rebellious in school cringes hard when they think about the shit they said to teachers. Moaning in the middle of the class. It's just a prank, bro. No, you're being an asshole. Today I fricked up by asking my high school crush to have sex with me. I've always had a crush on this girl, but we graduated a few years ago and I never had the courage to ask her out. Fast forward to a week ago when I saw a post of hers on Facebook. I clicked on her profile just out of curiosity and saw that her relationship status was single. I'm single as well, but not looking for a relationship right now. So I sent her a message to ask how she was doing and we exchanged a few messages just talking about our lives and such. Then I asked her if she was really single and she said yeah. Why? I basically said that I always found her attractive and would love to have sex with her if she was interested. I wanted to be honest and blunt about my intentions. I let her know it was no big deal if she wasn't interested. She said why would you even ask that, and blocked me. I've been thinking about it for the last week and I'm kicking myself that I said that. I really wish I could go back in time and redo that whole conversation. I know that I came off as creepy and it makes me cringe just to think about it. What do you wish Hollywood would stop doing? Making it impossible to hear dialogue. Having a main character whose job income level does not match their home or lifestyle at all. Milking everything dry, turning everything into a universe. Scenes that are too fucking dark to actually see. If I wanted to listen to a show, I'd download an audiobook. Spoiling the film in the trailers. Whispering, mumbling dialogue, then cutting to a chase scene. Dramatic posing close-ups. Forcing a love story that makes no sense in a movie that has nothing to do with romance. What's the most horrific act committed by someone you know personally? I live down the road from Terry Joe Volner. He rode my bus every day, and was also a violent, horrible person. He murdered a 5-year-old because he had feelings for the kid's mom, and I guess she didn't feel the same. So he murdered one of her kids, took a picture of the child's body and sent it to the child's mom and told her he was going to kill her other kids that he was babysitting if she didn't come home right now. He got life. Then he beat his cellmate to death with his bare hands so brutally they consider the death penalty. He got life again. What's the most horrific act committed by someone you know personally? Worked with a guy who got done for manslaughter. He bashed someone's head in with a table in a pub. This was after he stabbed a guy in the chest with darts. This was over a darts game. He also served time for beating a policeman into a coma with the policeman's own truncheon after the policeman caught him breaking into a car. What's the most horrific act committed by someone you know personally? My father beat the shit out of my mother and myself when I was a toddler. I have an uneven skull because of it. Until I found out, I thought it was a birth defect. I didn't find this out from my mother until I was an adult when I had to take him to court because he had opened numerous credit cards with my social security number when I was a kid and had tanked my credit by the time I was 18. Murder, twice. 2 separate incidents. 1. Killed a guy in a fight, not intentional, goes in for 10, serves 8. 2. Gets out. Another guy we knew gives him a hard time about how many times he sucked dick. Shot him in the face later that evening. He's not getting out. Today I fricked up by accidentally edging too hard. Obligatory. This didn't happen today. It was a normal day while I was home alone and I got unexpectedly horny all of a sudden. The thing is, I knew I would be alone for a long time because my mom was visiting family in another city. Anyway, I get down to business and get on the verge and keep doing this for about 2 hours. When I decide fuck it and blow my load, I swear it was the most amount of nut I've ever seen, but it was over quickly because I passed out. I woke up with a towel over me and nut all over my stomach, and my mom, who was back quicker than she was supposed to, and she brought the family over. It was the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me, and there was a live audience with front row seats to the reason I can't sleep at night. I never lived it down and people still tease me to this day. Men of Reddit, what is the male equivalent of flowers as a gift? Food, homemade, 10mm socket, a very cool rock, pie. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, old school truth. A good sandwich. I was on my way to visit my girlfriend 3 hours away this weekend, and she called and asked if I wanted a grilled cheese waiting for me when I got there. What an exciting gift that was. Hugs. My wife buys me flowers sometimes, and I really like it. Literally any acknowledgement of the dude's physical being. Not sure if it's just my experience or if it's a general thing, but any acknowledgement of any part of myself will keep me going for a week. What are some disadvantages of being a man? Being the sole man in the office, I'm expected to lift large objects while looking like a buff ass while having noodle arms. It's never brought up that Angela regularly works out and can lift 5 times as much weight as I can. Having to take the initiative, especially for shy guys. Lack of physical touch when single. The last proper hug I received was around 6 years ago, I think. If you are a victim of domestic violence, people won't take it seriously. People don't think that women can be vicious. Baldness. While most men can't, certain men can make it work for them. People expect you to pull it together at any situation. Hair. Too much at the wrong places, too little on the right ones. You can't be near a kid without raising some kind of suspicions. What is something you think all men could agree on? Big rock in water make big splash. If a man takes a hit to the nuts, we all feel it. All men know that when we go to urinate we have the silent or noisy mode. Down nod. How are you sir? Up nod. What's up G? You don't ask questions when another man digs a hole. You either admire it and make encouraging comments, or you help him dig. You gotta respect someone if they find a cool stick. Zippers are dangerous. What will die with millennials? Memory of life without internet. Watching whatever was on. Everything is always on now. You don't stumble into an interesting show because it's the only thing mildly interesting on TV. Going to Blockbuster and trying to find some film to watch. One new and one old combo. Remembering someone's phone number. Dubbing cassettes and burning your own mix on CD. Listening to the radio all day waiting for your favorite song. The knowledge of life before instant connection and internet fast globalization. Awkwardly trying not to look at each other in a waiting room. Millennials, what confuses you about Gen Z? Do none of you realize putting your entire lives on the internet is going to come back to bite you in the ass someday? How do all these young guys get their hair to look that way? That's super in right now. Are they out getting perms? Why some of them act like they pioneered the social media influencer boom, or look at me surprised because I have Snapchat, etc. Even though many of these came out when millennials like me were in our early 20s in the core demographic. Why are they all younger than me? Grow up. The fact they might think about the 90s the same way I thought about the 80s or 70s when I was a child of the 90s, a long time ago. Why are all the sneakers so bulky? They have a very weird and strange sense of humor. Like it's hard to articulate what it is exactly. But it's quite precise. What is the one thing you did while horny that you immediately regretted afterwards? Not so much regret but more a consequence from my own actions. Now this was during the stoner years of my late teens. One time I jerked it into a practically empty can of Monster late at night, set it on my desk, went to bed and forgot about it. The next day I had a few friends round beforehand. We did the usual munch shop etc. But to note, my best friend of 20 plus years bought Monster that day. Rolled up, smoked up and having a blast just munching and gaming away until at one part of the night we were circled round my desk watching my monitor. I'm focused on the screen and my friend all of a sudden coughs and gags after taking a drink from a Monster can. Yes, it was the concoction he had drank. It hadn't dawned on me straight away what had happened until he was repeatedly saying WTF is in that with a look of horror in his face. Then it clicked in my mongoloided brain and for a split second I had that oh shit heart sunk blood rushed out of your face my mom gonna kill me feeling before going into a hysteric of laughter not being able to speak. It took a good 10 minutes before I could piece together a sentence without laughing whilst he had a worried look in his face. My other friends laughing at the state of me not having a clue what was about to unfold. So sober mode switch on and I explained what has happened. The theory in his mind was confirmed and he took off heaving whilst me and my other buds are quite literally raffling. Still best brothers till this day running 25 years strong and I can say he drank my energized cum no homo. What do you do if you're at a nude beach and get a boner? Although it sounds super fake, I sold hot dogs on a nude beach for a summer job on year during university. I had an awesome summer and saw a lot of weird things there. But one beach regular that stood out in a creepy way was a guy who would walk back and forth across the beach with a half chub and his towel sort of covering it. In general, nude beach boners have a really simple solution: lie on your stomach till it goes away. Which celebrity would break the internet if they made an OnlyFans? Emma Watson, 2003. Jessica Alba, Taylor Swift. People love to hate on her for anything. The internet would have a festival-sized field day if she got OnlyFans, I'm sure. Scarlett Johansson, Ryan Reynolds, Jason Momoa, a tant chick. She is crazy attractive and has a bangin' body. Keanu Reeves, the boyfriend of the internet. What's a name brand item you refuse to replace with generic Post-it notes and practically anything else made by 3M? Crayola crayons. Generic taste funny. Lego. No rivals have comparable quality. Data storage. If I lose years of photographs it will be because of my own negligence, not because I saved $8 on a SD card. Q-tip. I've tried others and they suck, then I'm stuck with like 2,000 shitty cotton swabs. Nilla wafers. The off-brand versions tend to be flavored differently and they leave a funny aftertaste. Dawn dish soap. It's just good, and really not that more expensive. Tampons. I'm a cheap bastard most of the time, but if something's gonna be jammed up my fun hole for hours at a time it better be of the utmost quality. If a fictional character had an OnlyFans account, which one do you think would be the most successful? Mystique. I don't know if she would be number one, but it would be embarrassing how well Tinkerbell would do. Mrs. Incredible. Jessica Rabbit. Any Pixar mom. Lola Bunny. Chico from Kim Possible. Obviously. Lara Croft. I imagine Diva from Overwatch would be pretty popular. What is the first thought you get after orgasm? Sleep. Ugh, now I have to clean this up. I need to stop doing this frequently. Well, that scratched an itch, kind of. Not really. Shit, I'm fucking lonely. That fantasy seemed a lot hotter a few seconds ago. I need to pee or he need to pee? Maybe both need to pee? Who's going first? Damn, post-nut clarity is no joke.